I mean, we're kind of like at a don't ask, don't tell sort of phase in
Yeah.
Null, and I was like, well, I guess that's better than outright saying it sucks, right? But it's still not there. So I am a writer. I'm actually launching my first official book, Keeping Hope. It's going to come out on the 17th of July. It is a gay hockey romance.
Ooh,
I am
story
also an
of
enormous hockey fan.
story of my life.
I bet.
How did you get into hockey?
So I actually have a really interesting path of having arrived at liking hockey. I read the All for the Game series by Nora Sakovic. I may be pronouncing her last name wrong. Um, it had a sport in it that was like a mixture of hockey and lacrosse.
Okay.
And so I kept thinking to myself, I love this book series. I love like reading about the sports in it. Maybe I like lacrosse or hockey. So I went and I looked up YouTube videos, figured out I didn't like lacrosse, figured out I really liked hockey. So I was like, okay, well, that's cool. And I started watching like other clips on YouTube and reading other books that had hockey in them, like stuff by R.J. Scott, Vicky Lockie. And then we ended up actually getting a null team, the New Mexico Ice Wolves here.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, hey, maybe I really like hockey. And I went to go to a game and I have been in love ever since. I migrated from null to actually watching NHL stuff, and I have never looked back. And my husband now refers to me as the only sports fanatic in the house.
That's awesome. So what do you love about it?
So much. Where to even start? Um, I love like the camaraderie that like you kind of see between everybody, the close knit of the team. Um, I like watching like just sitting in the rink. Like it's just a completely different feeling. It's it sort of feels like when I go to concerts and like I'm sitting there and I feel united with all the fans and with the people that I'm watching, and I feel that same way when I'm in a hockey rink.
Mm-hmm.
So I really missed our season this year. Like we only had a little bit of it because COVID, and like watching it on the TV and it being out in Texas instead because they housed us this year was different. Um, was glad to have it back for at least a little while.
Yeah, it's almost it's its own community, you know,
Yeah, it
with
is.
fans and whatnot, and you start building bonds and friendships that can be life lasting. It's really awesome. How could hockey be better for you? Somebody who is, you know, part of the queer community, somebody who um, is, you know, both for you and for the community, I guess.
So like we don't have events at the null level, I guess, like the same way. Like we did like a cancer thing, but like they never did like any pride events or anything like that. I haven't seen anybody using pride tape on the team. I thought about like a couple times like buying pride tape and giving it to them and sort of trying to suggest a little bit harder that maybe something be inclusive because I know there's a lot of the queer community here and it would be nice if we actually got included. I mean, myself, I'm non-binary and pansexual, so like it would be great if they included a little bit more at that level too. And I think maybe starting early might make things easier once it got to the NHL level too.
Completely, I completely agree. What keeps you in the game?
I think just the fact that like once I have attached myself to something, like I'm attached to it for years. The same thing happened, like you can see behind me, pieces of that is for a band called Deer and Gray. Like once I'm in it for life and there's no getting me back out of it.
I love that. You're committed. I think that's
Yep.
great. And what gives you hope for the queer community in the sport?
Well, I think for one, like people like you and Curtis and actually, um, starting to try to make things a little bit more cohesive, at least known that there's issues that need to be addressed. I think is fantastic that like you do like the little travel around thing to talk to people.
Thank you.
Um,
That's a lot.
I think that if we had more involvement with things like that, um, maybe if we could even get like the fans involved in actually talking to their local teams, things like that maybe would try to pull things back together a little bit more.
And that was sort of part of the, like, I'm hoping this can be a way to start humanizing it for them, and that they could hear voices and people could see it, and ultimately start shifting it, and maybe we can get into those rooms and have it stop being gate kept.
Yeah, for sure. Like we have like the mites teams and like the peewee at all different levels. Like we even
Hmm.
have like 16 and 18U that are here. And if we could get in like as early as possible and start talking to people, normalizing it, that I think that would change a lot. As it is, I was talking to a couple of the players on the Ice Wolves last season because they actually helped me a lot with writing my book. And I think they were a little bit more receptive than I expected them to be. Um, I didn't really like outright tell them that it was a gay romance, but I did tell them that like it would involve stuff. And they were like, okay, well, I mean, we're kind of like at a don't ask, don't tell sort of phase in
Yeah.
Null. And I was like, well, I guess that's better than outright saying it sucks, right? But it's still not there.
Yes. That is a good analogy. It is very comparable to the don't ask, don't tell within the locker room setting. I think that goes all the way up to the top.
Yeah.
You know, is there anything
And
else you'd like?
that's
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
that's leaving like a whole part of yourself behind whenever like you're in there too, because like you can't just turn off who you are. Like I know that work, like my official work is not writing, but my official job has a very inclusive outlook for like making sure that everybody feels welcome, all races, all walks of life, like LGBT, like we have the entire span is what we call it. And it's very much tries to make you be comfortable being exactly who you are in the workplace. And I've seen that in so few places that it makes me want to stay where I'm at,
Hmm.
just so that I know that I don't have to hide who I am when I'm at work. And I can only imagine that it's even worse in sports where you have like that initial foot forward of like, no, actually, absolutely no homo, you know?
Well, I can't wait for your book to come out. I am happy to have you in the hockey community and in the queer community, and the intersection of those two things. And we need more visibility and representation like you and out there. So thank you.
I cannot wait for my book to come out as well. And I agree, we do need more uh, of that like combination of things instead of it just being apart.
Well, thank you so much.